So we like to start with our favorite Ram Dass quote. If you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. Ah,
Can
yes,
anybody relate to this?
yes. Pop a one in the chat if you can relate to that. I think my conversation with a family member last night was showing me that as well.
Yes, exactly. Right. I love it. I love it. Yeah, family is the great revealer of all of the shadow work we still need to do. Exactly, Jamie, right? Yeah. So, as we think about with my in-laws, love my side, love it. So, as we think about what the holidays mean around family and friends, the stats show us, and it shouldn't surprise anybody, that 69% of people in the United States argue with loved ones during the holidays. 66% of people feel way more stressed out during the holiday season, and 3 out of 5 people feel their mental health is adversely affected by the holidays. If you have felt any one of these things, pop a yes in the chat.
Yes.
Yes, in all caps, right? So that is why we are here today. Aaron and I are going to take you on a little journey, hopefully have a little bit of fun, get a little bit of music in your hearts, so that as you pop into the holiday season with family, friends, loved ones, bosses, coworkers, you will have a holiday melody in your heart that will carry you through the tough times. Aaron and I have both been through it with our families. And so we're going to share just some really heartfelt stories with you about how the holidays can be a time to remember, not a time to want to forget from the trauma. So,
Right?
yeah,
Healing holidays for sure.
healing holidays. Yes.
We also have the survey that we would love you to fill out because we're going to do some Q&A at the end. Some like kind of hot seat coaching if anyone has anything that's like on their heart that they want to share and like talk about and get some coaching around, follow that link. I think we got that. Do we have that link in the chat too? Let's see.
I am putting it there right now.
Word. So yeah, we'd love, do we want to take a few minutes, Jenny,
Yeah. Let's
to do
take a few
that?
minutes and fill out the holiday survey if you have not already.
Word.
And do you want to play a little bit of...
On it.
All right. Are you ready for kind of setting the container, Aaron? Thanks
Yeah, let's do
for
this.
playing along.
All right, so we are just going to go over some safe zone conversation. I don't know. We want to call these like principles. I don't know. That sounds rules. Ugh, that sounds just to create a safe environment here. Um, just a few things to run over, just so we're all on the same page, right? And one of one of the big one of the here's a few things that we'd like to invite into, which is just to be in receiving mode while we're on the call. The chats are for like aha moments, cheering people on, and not for coaching or like resources or sales. And also, we like to keep this call as confidential as possible. So what's talked about here stays here. Be positive the best you can, right? And you're responsible for your energy, so please bring that we ask and be generative and inclusive, find ways to co-create and equip, give agency to people, honor people where they're at, and be present. Cameras on is the best motto to have. Just we'd love to see your faces and let us know that you're engaged on the call today. So
Awesome. I love
that's
it.
that.
So what we are covering today is basically cultivating safe, enjoyable connection with your family and friends while staying sane. And if you are working along in our workbook, that's okay, Gloria. That's all right.
Enjoy that dish.
I know. If you are working along in the workbook, I'm going to pop that in the chat. It's right here. And the answers to that first page are yams. Oh my gosh, I love yams. Are right here. So we're going to teach you how to cultivate safe, enjoyable connection with your family and friends while staying sane. We're going to work through experiencing epic and authentic communication that bridges conflict, even with the most difficult family and friends. And we're going to help you unleash a set of invincible boundaries so that you can break relational patterns, keeping you stuck in old cycles with family and friends. Pop a 1 in the chat if you want to break old cycles with family or friends. Yep.
That's like my greatest Christmas and birthday gift.
I know, right? Can you imagine a Christmas tree where we would take a bunch of boxes and wrap it up, and as you unwrapped them, it's like, this is your new family pattern, this is your new friend zone pattern, this is your new intimate relationship pattern, and then we get to like have that new pattern all year long. That would be the best gift ever. Great. So I hear a lot of you resonating with this. Awesome.
Cool. Well, so let's also just make, like one of our intentions today is just to make this holiday season, and we invite you into this intention as well, to like make this season the year that you break patterns instead of decking your family. Which I still can't not laugh when I say these words out of my mouth. But yeah, so let's what brings you here today? We'd love to hear from you in the chat. Just, are you here because you're just trying to get through the holidays, but enjoy time with your loved ones? Like, where are you at? And how do you want this holiday season to be different than years in the past, previous years?
So what's your goal for today, and how do you want it to be different?
Yes.
Yes, pop that in the chat. The wheels are turning. I can see them. I think we stress people out by just mentioning the holiday, Aaron. What do you think?
I know. When I always get asked these questions, I'm like, "Oh, be grateful for my family." Like I don't.
Right? It was like the whole room just went into like dorsal freeze. We all I love it. Laura, yes, I get it. Oh yeah. Okay. I will be hoping for you.
Oh, the mother-in-laws.
Support Jenny and learn how I can have a great holiday without the drama. Here for you on that. I gotta go pick him up. Oh, totally that's fine, Dr. Paula.
We're gonna post this replay if you want to see it too after the thing. So just a little reminder on that.
Diana, I'm here because I like Jenny's Facebook post. Yes, they can, Diana, right? There's not a lot of space for people to talk about the experience of being adopted and what that means for your family. I've got a couple of clients who have gone through adoption, and one, we have to work out a whole plan for her to really equip her heart to navigate the holidays. So thank you for bringing that into the discussion. Roethia, I love that. Learn some ways to have a stress and drama-free holiday season. Holding space for you on that too, right? And I know you are at the beginning of launching a business, and so hoping that you have joy in that, even as you have the stress-free holiday. I'm here to support Jenny and AA Ron to get.
That's right.
Not stress out during the holidays. So Greg is my partner, y'all. And he has been an integral part of this whole process. So I am very grateful that he's here. So those are some great goals, y'all. Stay grounded and be authentic about the end of 2023. That's a beautiful goal, Jill. I have been navigating a lot around authenticity. My friend Katie and I, my friend Katie and I did a live on that the other day. And so I love that that's a goal. These are beautiful goals.
Yes. Love it.
So we are going to queue up the teaching points today. Aaron's got a really awesome story about kind of how he's navigated this in the past. So Aaron, will you share?
All right. Well, yes. Hi, everyone. Like official hi. If you haven't met me before, don't know much about me. I'm a self-healing coach, kind of relationship coach, but self-healing coach. And I'm just so part of my story is just that I'm grateful to really be to understand that, like, raising your awareness or becoming aware of like the wounds that drive us, and understanding for me that when I was looking back at my relationship with my ex, I started to see not her as my problem, but my wounds as my problem. And that gave me a bunch of freedom to really look at myself and be empowered and unapologetic and get back into my authentic self. And so, I was there, like classic breakup. I was distraught, lying on the floor, heartbroken. Felt like I had, quote unquote, sabotaged the relationship, forcing it to try to make it work. And I just had trouble. I was even like it just took me out of focus in my life, even at work and all the things, and enjoying time, all that stuff. And I felt like I was still attached to this idea of like trying to make it work with her. And it wasn't until like a few things that I had to walk through that really helped me. And one was just, you know, looking out, like realizing that the things that I was frustrated with that were outside of me were actually, I just hit something over here, was, you know, a reflection of what was going on inside. And I had to really slow down and focus. And that was one thing. And then, of course, I had to get support, right? Like I threw myself into therapy and then coaching, and safe, trusted friends. And then I moved into a lot of self study and to where I felt like I needed to really get back into who I was as a person. A lot of times in relationships, there's this like loss of self that happens. And the last thing I really had to do is just commit to healthy habits and boundaries in my life that maybe I had lost touch with, and get kind of back on board with them. And so I had to break up with my own unwanted patterns. And the first place I had to look was really in my relationships that I had at the time, because I wasn't in a relationship with my partner anymore. And so a great reflection for healing your own patterns is your family and your friends and the relationships that you had. And it really is a great reflection to look back and see, what's going on inside. And so now I know that, to heal harmful relationship patterns or unwanted patterns, you have to look at yourself and heal yourself. And I was that fixer. I was that person that was trying to go into relationships, trying to fix other people, rescue other people. And it's really when you reveal your own patterns that you start to heal and move forward. So does this resonate with anyone? Like, do you have some patterns that maybe you didn't think about much, but when the holidays come around, maybe you see them with your family, or friends at Friendsgiving, and what would it look like to take radical acceptance and responsibility, uh, and not seeing your loved ones as your problem, but like use that as an opportunity to really heal your past wounds and heal your patterns. Does that, if that resonates with anyone, please like at least like drop a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, uh, a yes in the chat.
What I what I love about that, Aaron, is that you bring up such an important point about how sometimes holidays, when you are dealing with intimate partnership pain, can just be so excruciating. I think about
Mhm.
the years that I spent the holidays painfully single, you know, having family members ask, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? When are you going to do this? Right. And
Yeah.
it's so hard when you're dealing with your own pain, and then you go into a family situation and they're not always helping, or friend situation. So thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. I can definitely
Absolutely. So you got a story too, Jenny.
do. I do. So my story is about boundaries. So if you've ever struggled to set boundaries with family, that's my story. First time I ever set a boundary with my mom. So I've got two dads that live out here in Palm Springs, and then I've got a mom and a stepdad that are in Georgia. And I just happened to be in Georgia. And when I set this boundary, even nature celebrated the wind. The wind, they celebrated the wind too.
The wind celebrated the win. Yes.
It was a really great day when I was able to set this boundary. And it set me on this healthy trajectory, but it wasn't always like that. I grew up in a family, with my mom and my stepdad, and it was essentially boundaryless. Um, Boundaries were non-existent. I wasn't allowed to have boundaries, space boundaries, time boundaries, body boundaries. I just wasn't allowed to have them. My mom hadn't learned how to have boundaries, and so she didn't know how to teach me about boundaries. And so the net result, because of a lack of boundaries on that side of the family, was a lot of enmeshment and triangulation. I got pulled into so many spaces of fights and arguments as a child, especially around the holidays. My house sounded like a freight train ran through the middle of it at times. And the fury of family fights it really consumed the energy of the house. I was always waiting for that hair trigger to set, that side of my family off. And as a kid, it literally felt like I was tiptoeing on wine glasses barefoot, waiting for the glass to shatter. That's what my life was like. It was a constant dance to try and avoid the mayhem and the chaos of the fighting. And it went on like this for years, all through my childhood. So I'll never forget the point where everything changed. And it was that moment that nature celebrated the win. So I was visiting my mom and my stepdad, and they were raging into the holiday fight, right? We had just cut down the tree from the front yard. We were getting ready to drag it out to the back and put it on the dock, and they were going at it. And my mom turns to me and points at my stepdad and says, "Do you see this?" And for the first time in my life, I didn't take the bait. I said to her as my body trembled and I shook, "Your conflict doesn't involve me." And then I turned the other way on my heel. I walked over to my car shaking, and I got ready to leave. But before I left their house, I turned to my left. And at the exact moment I turned to the left, there was a daffodil that sprung wide open at that exact moment. And it was like something unfurled and opened in me. It was such a small, minor moment, right? Just setting a boundary. Your conflict doesn't involve me, but it changed everything. This was the start of me climbing out of a very long and winding and painful road of not having boundaries with that side of my family. I started in therapy shortly after that and trauma-informed coaching to help me identify patterns that trapped me in cycles I couldn't get out of, both in relationships with my family and in intimate partnerships and in the workplace. I came to accept that my family was likely not going to get the healing that they needed. So that meant that the work would have to come from me. So I dug in and I did the work. The reality of the dynamics on that side of my family is I don't know that my family has the capacity to do the trauma work or the desire. So I've had to set a lot of boundaries around the time that I spend with them. And that means a start time and an end time when I go and see them, communication guardrails, right? But it also means that I've allowed myself to step off the boat of doing everybody else's emotional labor. And that has felt very freeing. Here's the good news. We're not one big, happy, intimate, perfect family, but I have found a way to be in proximity to them that doesn't devastate my nervous system. Some of the things that Aaron and I are going to teach you today. I now say no to mandatory holiday gatherings when I need to, when I'm already in overload. Does it make me sad? Yeah. But I also know that long-term, my relationships with my family will be better because I've allowed myself to own my no. We want to have loving relationships, but I've realized it takes two. And if the other part of the family is not on board, if the other friend, if the other intimate partner cannot do the work, it's okay to take care of yourself. Brene Brown says, make your boundary big enough so you can be in your own integrity so that you can give generously. So if you've got a difficult family or friend zone, does this story help you to know that it's okay to take care of yourself? It's okay to take care of your family, your partner. Pop a 1 in the chat if this resonates. Good. All right, Aaron. I think that was enough seriousness, don't you?
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to jump over to some
I
right
think
now. But
we need
I love your
humor.
story, and I think you made some great points, Jenny. I think that Brene Brown point quote so good.
So it wouldn't be Aaron and I without the memes, because those are very emblematic of our friendship. So before we get started, we want you to laugh. Does your family ever sound like this? Do your friendships ever sound like this?
Oh, oh, I hope I don't want to come home to that sound this Christmas.
This is an act.
Oh,
So this is an
wow.
actual conflict with Greg. He's the one who shut me down. Just kidding. Just kidding. Very effective at conflict.
Oh man, hell of a pattern interrupt right there. Yeah.
Right? So we want to take you through the next, through 3 keys that will hopefully help you. So if you remember nothing else from this workshop and the dogs, remember this: don't deck, connect. So as you are walking into family and friend situations, you may encounter these problems. Maybe a relative or a friend drives you insane. Have you ever had those family gatherings where somebody's driving you insane? Pop a 1 in the chat. Maybe you're parentified by your family or your friends. You're the caregiver, right? Maybe you've got toxic people in your circle that you're trying to navigate. Or maybe yes, exactly, Jamie. Maybe you've got family or friends holding you to a past self. Does anyone ever remember going home or to, high school friends for the holidays, and they look at you and they still think you are 11 years old? Right? I know I've been there, right? And maybe another problem is feeling obligated to show up in a certain way, right? So if you've been the good girl or the good guy, yep, exactly. There's another one: feeling forgotten and left out, erased, abandoned, right? That is such another one. What other things can you think of that you've run into that have impacted your ability to connect with your family? Pop it in the chat, or your friends, or just anyone in your circle. Maybe it's negatively impacted your ability to connect with a partner. Yes, sisters refuse to see the me of today. That's a big one. Passive aggressive, right? Oh, I'm fine, right? People say you've changed when you choose to be yes. I was talking with my partner about this morning. We were talking about what happens when you start to get healthier. It creates a ruckus in the family. And then, exactly what Jamie said, like, people come back and say, well, you've changed. Yeah, because I'm not a doormat anymore. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Peacemaking between others sucks my energy. Right, exactly. Because you're doing the emotional labor for a whole slew of people, maybe. And that is exhausting. Mother-in-law's cutting remarks. Yes, 100%. Parents cutting remarks. My mom, sometimes my mom or my stepdad, like, those things are hard. So Aaron's going to share with us what to do instead.
I choose to look at this, a lot of situations with compassion over comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of those examples really could take this into account, and not really seeing your family as a threat, because even down to our nervous system, we'll see somebody will walk in the room, someone will make a weird mannerism, and then all of a sudden our nervous system will go into like threat response. And the opposite of that is really having compassion and seeing that we're all just really humans with a wounded history, right? And we are all bringing that wounded history into our relationships, sometimes on a conscious level, most of the time on an unconscious level. And the solution is to learn to co-regulate and or self-regulate, if you're not familiar with that. Really what that's about is understanding how to emotionally become centered. And there's this little idea of learning how to regulate, because who's ever been in a situation where you're trying to put logic into into you get into an argument or a conflict, and you're trying to like rationalize what's going on, but you're so activated that, and Papa one in the chat if you can resonate with this, um yes, Jenny. Where you're just so like, well, that's being dysregulated, right? And so we want to two dysregulated people can't like come to a repair after a rupture. And so it's learning how to first become regulated for yourself so that you can relate and come into an understanding with someone else and really have that listening skill, and then come to a logical conclusion at the end. So
Love it.
that's our solution. Jenny, you got some practical stuff.
Yeah. So
That's really good.
it can be challenging. We want to deck our family instead of connecting with them. And so I love about, finding compassion. And that also means finding compassion for yourself, right? Some of the things that I work with my clients on are always have an end time for your visits. It's such a simple thing, but if you know you've got that end time, your nervous system can survive anything. Awareness of your environment. It's called neuroceptive awareness. Are you in an environment where your body is screaming, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe? And are you dismissing that? If you need to take a 5-minute time out and go to the bathroom and do deep breathing exercises, that's okay. That is totally fine. Sometimes you need a hot minute when family triggers you. Take the time that you need. That's part of having compassion for yourself first and putting on your own oxygen mask first. And taking off your mask, right? So what this means is if you've always been the good girl, maybe try a holiday when you're not. If you've always been the cooperative son, maybe try a holiday where you start saying no. That's not to create not to disrupt the apple cart, but it's to allow yourself to step into what does it mean to be an authentic family member. You may actually, yes, exactly, Laura. I've gone upstairs to take a nap. You got to do what you got to do to take care of your nervous system. Because if your nervous system isn't on board, you're not going to be able to have any hope of connecting with your family. So, Aaron, what do you got to add?
I always have a story, so I'm a story guy. But yeah, well, and I think it's a short story of just realizing that again, your family are humans with a wounded history, and for me, that was after I'd gone through like kind of devastating relationship stuff, I started realizing how I was showing up in my family, around my family, whether it was sibling or a parent, and I realized like I would almost shrink, right? Like I would be around my family feeling small, shrinking, and realizing that when there was a pattern or a behavior that I was not fond of, going like, oh, that's my sibling, maybe coming from actually having similar wounds that I have that are just showing up in a different way. And so that again, back to compassion, because I think empathy is good. It's good to have empathy and understanding, but compassion is almost a sense of like letting someone off the hook, and and giving them space to be like, oh wow, I see you, I see that part in you that is wounded as well. And that's my story. I'm big on compassion. I'm the compassion guy.
You are. You are. That's one of my favorite things about you, actually, is a lot of times, in conflict, I'll come in sometimes like Black Hawk Down, and Aaron will take a breath and say, and this is just, larger group, in larger groups, he'll say, what if, and then he'll do a reframe, and then he'll get to the heart of what's actually going on and usually unlock it. So you are
Yeah.
You definitely resonate compassion. So
Well, and also too, Jenny, what I think is interesting is like compassion isn't, this just came to me, but compassion isn't peacemaking, right?
yes, Yes.
You have anything about that?
Yes. You can have compassion on people. This is something it's hard, especially so pop a 1 in the chat if you're a coach, a practitioner, or a mental health, a therapist of any kind, because I just want to, so pop a 1 in the chat. Yeah. So,
Oh, you all know.
yeah. So one of the challenges that we have as mental health service-oriented healers, you may be a healer too, sorry to not include the healers, we get why other people are doing things. And so there's a part of us that's like, oh, chaplains, that's another one, right? Thank you, Countess. So we want to give space and compassion for that. But just because you understand why somebody's doing something doesn't mean you have to tolerate the behavior, right? It's okay to understand, it's okay to have compassion, and it's okay to have boundaries. You know, I have a client right now that I'm working with, and she's dealing with an addiction issue. And we have learned about what this compassion with boundaries looks like. My best friend, Steven, says, you don't have to violate your boundaries to make an amends. You don't have to violate your boundaries to have compassion. So just hold on to that as you go into your holidays this season. So
That's good.
let's talk about what taking action looks like. And
Yeah,
did
yeah.
you want to say something? Did I just totally cut you off as I'm like pointing?
No. You go, Jenny. Do it.
So this is what taking action looks like. You could remain on the same path, feeling unsupported and isolated, realizing things may never change or get worse. And ultimately you could feel disappointed because you didn't at least try this holiday season, or
That's right. All right. Or get support. And I think, finding that neutral party, that therapist, that coach, someone that really is there to cheerlead on the sidelines for you and support you in the shadow moments is super important. And also, just healing your history is so important, and going like, oh, I'm wound that's my wounded part. I'm like, that's my history, not what's showing up now, and having to to move forward from that. And also regulate, relate, and reason, learning how to really do that. And also living, and doing all that so that you can live the life and relationships that you really want to have. And not be the peacemaker, but find maybe inner peace. I don't know.
oh, not be the
Oh, a little
peacemaker,
switch.
find the inner peace.
I did this the switch. But Jenny, you have a good client story, right?
So I had a client this time last year, and she came to me, and she had been raised by a diagnosed narcissistic mother. And in the work that I do, helping women move on after toxic relationship cycles, I get a lot of people who've had a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic partner. She had both, parent and then married a partner. And she came to me and she said, I started to wonder, maybe I deserved more than what I have been accustomed to creating in relationships. And that's why I came to you. She said, I'm a creature of habit, and I really don't like my habits. They're not good. And I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here in relationships. I don't want to be here in intimate partnerships. And I don't want to be here anymore in my family. So when I came to you, she said, I decided we're not doing it my way anymore. We're going to do it yours. So she went through my relationship reset program. She did all of the work that we are teaching you today about pattern interruption, about boundaries, about determining like who you are, taking off the mask. And at the end of it, she said, your program has equipped me with a relationship blueprint, a set of beautiful boundaries for myself. And I found the agency and the courage to use them both. She said, I realized during the boundary section how when I actually used my voice, people responded, and it almost knocked me over. She said, I realized there's a cost to not having boundaries, and that cost was me, my body, my relationships, and my wholeness. She said, I'm light years ahead of where I was before. Your program gave me incredible tools. You elevated my awareness of who I am, and you elevated my potential for relationships. And that's what this work that is scary and hard is all about, because you come out the other side with a lot of good skills and good patterns that can help you enjoy the holidays and enjoy your family and enjoy your friends and relationships. So we're moving on to point 2. And we have another fun little meme for you. Aaron, you got it? Did Aaron freeze? Uh-oh. I think we lost Aaron. Hold, please. So, give me 1 second. I am going to show you guys the meme until Aaron comes back. Are you guys all still here? Yeah, okay. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right, so I'm going to move on to point 2 and maybe share my screen. Don't you love when tech gremlins show up? Hold on, you guys.
Full tech gremlin, for sure.
Yes, you're back. I was Do not let Jenny have the technology. This is not going to end well.
Oh my gosh. All right. Sorry, y'all. Here we go.
Did I give you, hold on, let me, are you still, yeah, you are. Okay.
Here we go. All right.
Fucking damn it. Oh, fucking damn it. Oh, fucking damn it. Man, do not have to sit.
These are the type of memes I get from Jenny into my DMs all the time. That's so funny.
So
Are they even learning how to swear?
This is what happens.
Damn it. Oh, fucking damn it.
Okay.
So this is what happens when you realize that in all of your relationships, you're the common denominator, Greg. Too.
If it would be like awesome if everyone couldn't swear really harshly, but like everyone sounded that adorable when they swear, and you're like, oh, that's not a threat at all. It's like
I know.
That's like the cutest thing. Anyways, what are you so mad about? Let's talk about it.
I think that's
so. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So this is really about mastering courageous communication. So pop some ones on a scale from 5 to 10, how much you're feeling. So it's like not feeling safe to talk about uncomfortable topics like politics, religious views, culture, right? Like, oh my gosh, can we, the one drunk relative with the political thing, that can we dial that back? Feeling triggered, right? Can we just dial, if we just had like a dial on people sometimes, feeling triggered and not knowing how to really create a safe communication style, and or dreading news talks, yes, and continual misunderstandings and assumptions that ultimately lead to arguments, and sometimes even like going like, ooh, like I know for me, there's like, ooh, if we even jump on that topic right now, that's gonna explode into bomb territory, activated territory. So if you're feeling yes, can go for sure. Oops. So what do you think about that, Jenny?
Yeah, it's hard to be courageous in communication with family and friends and loved ones when you've got stuff like all of the isms, all of the obias, right? Homophobia, racism, sexism, misogyny. When people bring up politics, religion, like it is so hard to navigate those conversations and to hold yourself. I know for me, those conversations, when they start in my family, I'm the introvert in my family, and my family is a bunch of extroverts. And so those conversations start, and it's like this wave of conversation that just comes at you, and it's like, it just knocks you back, right? But there is a way you can have an epic communication style where you are courageous and confident and bridge connection by stepping into that courageous communication. So here's the opportunity that we have. We can be curious over confused. Sometimes we get confused in these conversations because it's like, I can't believe my Aunt Millie just freaking said that, right? And so we go into this confused, almost frozen state. What if we stayed curious? Where's that coming from, right? And this is for things that are not overtly hate-based. But what if we could ask Aunt Millie, get curious, tell me more. What makes you say that? How did you arrive at that conclusion? Again, when it's not dehumanizing, when it's not, you know, when it's not taking your humanity into a really negative place and you can hold space to be curious, we encourage doing it. Listening without formulating a response. How often when people go into politics are we like, that's it, I have my 10-point list about why I'm going to tell you not to vote for that candidate. What if we took it back a minute, took a breath, and listened to what they had to say, and then stepped forward? How could we compassionately step into that space? And what if we could ask more questions? So those are some of the opportunities. And again, I will say this, this does not have, it's, if there are things like homophobia, racism, sexism, those things, call them out. You're allowed to call those things out, right? If somebody's humanity is being erased, call it out. Create a ruckus. It's okay. We're giving you permission. But also get curious, listen, and ask questions. So what happens to the other person when you can do these things is it lowers their threat response and they start to feel understood, which then opens them up to wanting to understand you. Then your nervous systems actually start to get in sync with each other. And that's the win.
For sure, for sure. Let's see. Sorry, we have someone that wants their video on.
Oh, I got it.
Meta. You got that?
Yep.
Happy to do that. Yes, great points, Jenny. I think the power of compassion, presence, there's power in all that. And also, acknowledging what's really happening and what's going on. I had this is a story I told last year, but it's kind of a quick example of like when you can tell that someone's in their threat response and someone is activated and possibly in some kind of survival response. And really when someone's in survival response, I really what's underneath is fear. So I had a encounter with my mom one time where I'm in Tennessee and there was a hurricane in Florida. I forget what hurricane it was. And she's in California. And up until recently, Californians didn't know what a hurricane was. And so I just get all caps text from my mother, get out of there, board up your house, put sandbags down, board up your windows, like the whole thing. And then I'm getting a call and we're talking on the phone. And probably in the past, I might have brought on some dismissive sarcasm or whatever. But this time I was like, mom, it's clear that mom's in a state of fear and survival. Like what's going on? And so I just plainly asked her, Mom, what's scary right now? And it's like her tone totally shifted and was like, well, I guess, she went a little more, was like, I'm not sure if, you boys listen and all the things, right? Like all the concerns that a mother would have. And I said, Mom, what would I can't remember if this is exactly the question, but I asked, what would it look like, or what would this look like if you like me and my brother right now, and everything was okay, and it calmed her to understand that, so I didn't have to come back with some snarky comment about, like, hey, I'm in Tennessee. It wasn't really about that. It was about like her and feeling dysregulated. And so that's, even if someone, so that's a perfect example. That's a question I ask people often, is like, what's scary right now? Especially you can tell things are intense. And it's just a really powerful question. So, and that can help people co-regulate together and go from like, relate to reason, just by asking simple questions like that.
I love that.
What do you got, Jenny? You got some
scary
practical
right
good
now?
stuff.
Yeah, I do, but I really like that. And I really like that question for women too, right? Because especially with a hurricane,
Yeah.
here comes up. So that's powerful. So practically, what can we do when we're in these situations that are, nerve-wracking or scary or overwhelming? I call it learning to catch ants. So an ant is an automatic negative thought that runs through your brain at breakneck speed. It's a part of what your brain will do to fire to keep you safe. And these things usually run through our brains at such speed we don't even know they're there. I remember the first time I caught an ant. I was in the middle of something, had totally blown it at work, and I'm sitting there at night beating myself up, and all of a sudden I hear this, like the cadence of this thing going through my brain, and it was going so fast I couldn't almost catch it. And the phrase was, "What's wrong with you?" And it just kept going. "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" And I slowed down, because when you've been through any kind of trauma or difficult family situation, slow is your superpower. I slowed way down and I grabbed it. And I said, "What's wrong with me?" There's nothing wrong with me in this moment, not a dang thing. And from that moment, I really started to realize what is going through my brain at any given moment. That's how you catch an ant. You grab it, you examine it, you get curious about it, and then you change how you respond to it. Did we just lose Aaron? We just lost Aaron. Oh, buddy. So one of the ways that you can very practically handle difficult family situations is catching those ants. So how can we take action from this? Well, you could remain on the same path, not knowing how to bridge connection, not knowing how to repair from a family rupture, and ultimately feel totally disappointed because you didn't at least try. Or you can get support, heal your history and your origin story, build the skills to communicate in love, and bridge a deeper connection with your family members this holiday. So you'll see Aaron and I have a pattern here, right? We are encouraging you to get support. He's back. Where are you? Where did you go? There you are. Hi, Aaron. I made it through the whole next slide.
Oh, cool. Great.
So
Keep going.
Aaron has a story that he wants to share with you. Thank you guys through our tech grummies. It's not a party until the tech grummy shows up. So Aaron has a story that he wants to share with you about his client and how he helped a client navigate through some of these family patterns.
Yeah, for sure. Can you all hear me and see me and all the things?
Yep.
Yeah, so I had this client, this is a self-love client of mine, and sometimes, our patterns are like hiding right next to us in plain sight. And she was already, she became a client of mine, and she was already engaged to the man of her dreams, was like the first sentence out of her mouth. And she believed that, but she was still struggling with this like need to find approval and love, and she was trying to get her partner to see her value. And so she compared herself still, and she even to her partner's exes, and she really kind of got lost in trying to outsmart people, one up, look and do better efforts to try to like kind of claim her self-worth in this like kind of survivalist way. And and it was like everything that she was worried about was in her head and not happening. And that's really what the truth was, because her partner was like all in and loved her to death. And so it's often that, like, back to what Jenny was talking about with ants, a lot of times it's the it's the negative conversations that are going on in our head that can become blocks that need to have a pattern interrupt. And so and most of that comes from our pain from the past, and it can get so loud sometimes that we just don't hear anything else than those negative, those ants, those stories that we tell ourselves. And so it's really when we look through a different lens and change our perspective, that things start to change. And that was true for my client. And we also have a really good meme, surprise, surprise, to go with that. So here we go.
All about breaking patterns.
All right. All the dogs. Jenny loves the dogs. All right, here we go. Go for like another minute.
So this is when you're trying to create a new relationship pattern.
Next means play again, apparently, in tech world. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So if you resonate with that, like, drop a 1. We'd love to hear if you've been there before, maybe where you've, been in
new pattern. You got the old pattern inside.
Yeah.
I love it. So as we move into the third and final, yes, exactly. As we move into the third and final key, and Aaron and I have some special things at the end. We're also going to do some hot seat coaching at the end to really 3 on the slide. Yes, exactly. We're going to do some hot seat coaching for you guys to help you through the holidays. And we should be done by probably 20 after the hour. So just to give you a heads up on timing. So as you start to unleash invincible boundaries, some of the problems that you may occur is neglecting your needs to meet the needs of others. I know I have done that, right? I erase myself to create space for somebody else. Sometimes it's hard to feel seen. You may feel unseen, unheard, mute, or inauthentic. And so as a result, you have shrunk, and so you don't bring your boundaries forward. Maybe you're tired of being a mediator, savior, or rescuer of others. I call this being Captain Save-A-Ho, when you just jump in to fix anything that is happening in front of you, and that gets exhausting, right? That's usually a result of lack of boundaries. Maybe you're afraid to set a boundary, or you're afraid of the backlash, right? What will my mom do? What will my bestie do if I set a boundary in this situation? So as a result, we don't set boundaries. So Aaron, what's the alternative?
Well, Jenny, let me tell you. I think, there's an opportunity, right, to know, when you need to repair something, and when because you are acknowledging that there's a rupture, and knowing that when to walk away, right? Sometimes it's like creating space or walking away that's not when it's a hot moment, and putting up those preventative boundaries, and, providing a buffer of protection, maybe for a partner, maybe for yourself, if there's a toxic energy or a toxic situation going on, and just helping maybe your partner or maybe yourself without going into, well, helping your partner or another person without going into a codependent type of caretaking role, or mode, because often that's you want to go rescue, caretake, and the solution from that is really about understanding what's about them versus what's about you, right? And that's a lot of this inner work, is really understanding what's for you, and looking at your patterns, and using proximity, environment, clear language, and asserting yourself and setting boundaries in those moments when it's most likely the toughest, to do that. So what do you got, Jenny?
Yeah, so I think about prepping my clients with scripts. So I first learned about scripts from Terry Cole, who is a boundary badass. She was my first professional development coach. She's amazing. And she scripted things, because a lot of times as clients, we go into freeze mode as clients, as humans, we go into freeze mode. And so we can't get the words out. So what a script does is it allows you to have those words at the ready so that when somebody triggers you, it just comes out of your mouth. And I used to practice these scripts in the mirror, right? Greg knows, I will not step into conflict with him without a script. It's gotten to a point of where he knows if we're having a conflict, I get on my besties first and I dig into it and figure out how I want to say things. And then I sit down with him and I have my script. And what ends up happening is we don't end up in screaming fights because he graciously allows me to read through my script and get the emotions out of it. It was ridiculous at first, but it has really helped our conflict navigation as a couple. I also encourage my clients to watch out for what I call narcissistic schedule bombs. People high on the narcissistic scale, whether they're personality disorder all the way to that continuum, or they just are very entitled, will bomb your schedule with changes at the last minute and then expect the entire system to accommodate to what they want. So if you've ever had a narcissistic schedule bomb, somebody drops a schedule change in your lap, pop a 1 in the chat. I see this all the time with the clients that I work with because they're in toxic relationships. So the way that you can navigate this is going back to the original plan and saying, hey, we agreed that this is what we're going to do. So I'll be at your house at this time. If you need a change to that plan, I'm going to need you to navigate that at your end, but this is what the plan is. Will they be mad? Yes, because if you've got a real narcissist on your hands or somebody who is high on the personality disorder spectrum, they don't like boundaries. Hold them anyway. Aaron, what you got?
I think, I was listening to, this is pulling this from another therapist that I was listening to the other day. Oftentimes going back to caretaking, right? If we're going into the caretaking mode, knowing the difference between caretaking versus caregiving.
Yep.
And often am I still here?
Yeah.
If we're in caretaking mode, that kind of is a sign that we're in some kind of codependent connection. My internet literally says it's unstable. It's dysregulated right now, my internet. But so that nuance is really interesting, right? Like if you're supporting someone freely, it's like this energy of giving, and versus like caretaking, which is like, I really need something out of this by caretaking for someone else. So that was really interesting, and kind of back to the scripts and maybe the scripts that are running in your head. I had a client that would she had a great relationship with her partner, and she had that relative, right? I think it was like an aunt, and that was toxic, and it forced her to go into this like self-doubt, like internal self-doubt thing where she was just kind of in her head trying to sort it out, like trying to fix the problem in her head, and where I'd ask her questions and it would be like looking at the wall trying to figure it out, and what was really going on is that, and then her husband came around the corner and just said, just press eject, right? And so often we're running these thoughts of these stories in our head that like, oh, I need, again, and Jenny says it so well, taking like emotionally responsibility for the other person, right? And it's interrupting those thought patterns as well as behavioral patterns that can really give somebody a sense of freedom. So 2 things there, but caregiving versus caretaking, and then also just like interrupting the patterns that you're starting to notice that are going on in your mind script.
I love that. I love both of those, the caretaking versus caregiving, and then press eject. I literally am going to think about that. This like press eject on that automatic negative thought, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
How do we take action on this? Well, you could remain on the same path, hiding your voice and not knowing how to assert yourself, not knowing how to repair. from a rupture, neglecting your needs and not loving yourself, or
and here comes the theme, get support. Yeah, just, I mean, it's so often, just having someone that's a sounding board, a listening board to understand, especially if you are someone that's more in your head, or someone that's just, confusion is really just a state of fear. So often when we voice things or we put things onto the table, that's when we really get to become more self-aware, and then that's like 90% of the work, and then the other 10% is just changing that habit, or changing that pattern. So, and then healing your history and learning the skills, the boundaries, and really understanding when you're setting a boundary, also actively like loving yourself by creating that space, and so that you can bridge a deeper connection with family members, and hopefully this holiday and beyond,
so let's do a little review. What did we learn today? We learned that you can cultivate safe, enjoyable connection with your family while staying sane. You can create epic, authentic communication that bridges conflict, even with difficult family and friends. And you can use your boundaries and break relationship patterns, keeping you stuck in old cycles with family and friends. So in the workbook, you've got some spaces where you can actually do a little bit of introspection and decide kind of what you want this holiday season to look like for you. So what Aaron and I want you to do in the next short section, before we give you all the gifts, is, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, what will your story be this year, right? Like, what do you want? What do you want to tell about your story that goes down this Christmas? Goes down in a good way, right? And I think, is it in the workbook, Jenny, where it's like, go, if you could fill in these blanks. So from blank to blank in blank amount of days or month, right? Like, I want to go from learning how to co-parent, co-parenting, to planning my own Christmas in the 12 days of Christmas. Like, I don't know what that is, but for you, but really getting clear on.
We're losing him again. So getting clear on what your before and after is. So from unseen to seen, from boundaryless to boundaried, from unhappy to happy in, a certain amount of time. So that is, we want you to think about kind of what that would look like for you. And that is going to be your homework as you move forward. But Aaron and I have a couple of gifts that we're going to give you. So we have created these wonderful gifts. The first is, Aaron.
We got a holiday hype list for you all. It's that hype list when you're driving in the car about to go see your relatives, go to the Friendsgiving. Can you all see it on the slide?
And I just put the wrong link in. Hold on.
Okay. If you, jennyrain.com/holiday hype. And yeah, if I don't, yeah, I'm hoping that people can see the screen, because I know my internet got out there a minute, but yeah, so that ride, maybe you can sing along to them. We got some T Swift, we got some Eye of the Tiger, we got some Eminem in there, we got it's all good.
Yeah, it's not children approved, but it is. We went from, like, we've got some REO Speedwagon. We might have put Ozzy Osbourne Crazy Train in there, which actually has really good words that are very relevant to family and friend struggles and all the things. So let this hype you up. Maybe put the children's in a headphone so that they can't hear all the words, but we wanted to give you something to really encourage you over the holidays. And then Aaron, do you want to tell them about our second very special holiday offer?
Yes, the very special holiday gift is just in the season, in the energy and season of giving here. Jenny and I both are offering pay what you can coaching, 4 sessions, and to jump on a call with either one of us, whatever you'd like, to see if that's going to be a good fit. And we're offering just kind of this mini package. I call them self-love sprints, and really 4 sessions to kind of help set you up for the holidays, in kind of our last stretch here, because we have less than we have like 6 weeks or something like that. So but yeah, we just, as a gift to you, just want to offer a pay what you can for pay what you can sessions.
Yeah, it's a mini pack. And so I cannot multitask clearly, because I'm like trying to hold please and that is Aaron's link. Shoot, and this is my link. So both of us, and you guys can work with both of us. So it is literally pay what you can. And it's to help you through the holiday season. And the mini pack is 4 sessions. We offer, so both of us are relationship / Aaron is self-love in the relationship world. I'm relationship coaching, which also means working on your relationship with yourself. The other, my super top secret niche is business coaching. So if you need kind of a business catalyst, that's in there too. So book a call with us, and we mean it, like pay as you can. We want to create space for people who may not have, Laura, hop on a call and I will tell you all about all of my packages. So
yeah,
but we just want to be of service this holiday season and give back. And so this is in the spirit of that. So
yeah, awesome. And if you want to connect with both of us, we're both, I think Jenny, I'll say me, but I'm on Instagram if you'd love to connect with me more. Follow Jenny and I both are on a podcast episode on my podcast. I think Jenny is dropping some stuff in there. Yeah. And so you're welcome to sign up for my email, follow my podcast. I have a lot of practitioners and healers and coaches, therapists that come on and tell their stories. And it's a lot of fun. So, and Jenny, you want to drop yours? Yeah.
Magnificently on these. I'm like, why aren't they copying? We're going to send you guys an email with all of these links, and you can also download the chat, but we're going to get these links to you because we know we're throwing a lot at you. So you guys can follow me on.
Boom.
Okay, so we see who is the tech gremlin in the house. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're so fun. So these are my links. Follow me on I'm usually Jenny Rain or Jenny Rain Coaching. And then my next free event is going to be December 5th. Again, you are going to get an email with all of these links in one, so you can click on wherever you want to follow us. And like I said, we would love to serve you this holiday season in however we can as coaches. This is our heart of service and giving back, and in being generous, and hopefully creating a wave of generosity in the coaching field as well. So Aaron and I are available if you guys have more questions. You've got both of our email addresses as well. And we're here to support you through the holidays. You will be getting an email from us with all of the plethora of links. And and like I said, we're here to support. So thank you so much for being here today. Aaron, do you want to give any closing remarks?
No, just thank you so much for showing up and coming to this. And we enjoyed having you here. And we just hope that we could be supportive to you, however you may need it. So be happy to jump on a call with you. Both of us, I think, would be. So either one. Just happy to be here and appreciate you. And I hope the best for your holiday season. Oh, appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. It was really, really excellent. I'm glad I got to come.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, bye everybody.